Hi everyone, Denise from Salvaged Inspirations, and thanks for joining me today. Today I have a super cute vintage desk makeover. I've added a little bit of sunshine, I've added the new Bells and Whistles Dixie Belle Transfer, and I have a few tips and tricks for you along the way, one being how to disguise a transfer if you come up a little bit short. So just let me get set up and I'll be right back. Found this desk on Facebook Marketplace. It was selling for $50. It's really cute, super solid. The only issues it has is really a few scratches, missing hardware, but I can't wait to get started and share what I'm going to do with this. I started by cleaning this desk, giving it a really good cleaning with Dixie Belle's White Lightning, which is a TSP substitute. If you don't have White Lightning or TSP, you could always use a mixture of vinegar or water, vinegar and water, or Dawn dish liquid works fabulous. Just make sure that whichever cleaning method you use, you do give it a really good wipe down afterwards. Once the piece was all dried, I rolled on 2 coats of Slick Stick. And Slick Stick is awesome when you need 100% certainty your paint will adhere without sanding. The Slick Stick is a super tough gripping primer that works on shiny factory finishes, plastic, metal, ceramic, and mirror, to name a few. And you just have to keep in mind that it's not made to cover bleed through though. As I've mentioned in a few of my other videos, I really like applying primers with this 4-inch foam roller that I pick up from Home Depot or the dollar store. They're very inexpensive. They're like $1.50 for 2, something along those lines. But what I do with them, as I'm demonstrating here, is I use the tip of the roller to get into furniture crevices. I don't really need a brush when I'm using these. The foam roller gets into all the nooks and crannies, and then you roll it out nicely, and it gives a nice smooth finish base for your paint. So here's what it looks like, all cleaned, it's been primed, and the hardware holes have been filled with the Dixie Belle mud. Now it's all set for paint. I brushed on 2 coats of Dixie Belle's Rebel Yellow, which is like sunshine in a jar. I have to say, this color made me happy using it. It's really nice using a cheerful color when you get to paint furniture. I used 2 coats using my Dixie Belle synthetic mini brush, and I have to apologize. I got myself a new ring light to try and lighten up my videos a little bit, but quite honestly, I haven't gotten the hang of it yet because it seems like I'm blowing out some things, including my face in my intro and the end credits there. I've been noticing that, half my face is lit up weird, the other half not so much, but don't worry, I will get the hang of it, promise. But as you can see here, I'm just painting up the drawers, I'm painting the top, and like I mentioned, 2 coats of Rebel Yellow went on this as a base coat. Just a quick tip when painting a smooth, flawless finish with a paintbrush, as you'll notice here, I'm just getting the paint on, and I like my first coat to be applied fairly thick, and it's just getting the paint on in even strokes as possible. And then what I'll do is I'll take my spray bottle. Now this works especially well if you're working with thicker paints, such as Dixie Belle or any sort of chalky type paint. Usually tends to be a little thicker. So a spray bottle, a misting of water or on your brush and or the top, as I'm doing here, goes a long way to help even things out. So I will get the paint on, then I will spray it, give the whole top a nice little spray with water, and then I'll even it all out to make a nice even finish. I'm in the habit of also sanding in between my coats, which I find is a huge help. But these 2 little tips, using a little bit of water, a misting water, and a sanding in between, really goes a long way for a super smooth finish. After I finished with the drawers and I finished with the top, I went ahead and started painting the front of this piece, making sure I got into all the front of the drawers and getting into all those little nooks and crannies on the inside as well. Here's another quick tip. If you can flip your piece of furniture onto its top so you can kind of get a bird's eye view of what's going on underneath your piece, it's extremely beneficial. And that's what I did to paint these feet in a natural wood. A big, huge thank you for all of you who chimed in on the blog last week and gave me the idea to use this faux wood paint technique on a piece of furniture, because I'm not sure I would have thought to use it on the legs and the knobs of this piece if you guys hadn't mentioned it. So thank you. So as per all your requests to see this faux wood paint technique on a piece of furniture, I decided to give the legs and the hardware knobs of this desk a natural wood finish by using the two colors of paint. One is a base coat of burlap, and then the second is a chocolate wash, and then I wipe it off with a shop towel. And then to add the little extra detail, I just do a little bit of dry brushing with the chocolate. So again, it's a base coat of burlap, then you add a chocolate wash, which is the chocolate color just mixed with a little bit of water. You wipe it off with a shop towel, and then you take a cheap, inexpensive chip brush and you do a little bit of dry brushing in the direction that the wood would be going. I really, really like the looks of this. I did the knobs as well to match. I found a really inexpensive, I think I got 2 knobs for $1 something. I'm not even sure where I picked them up actually, but I did the same faux wood technique on the knobs, and I think the knobs and the matching legs look adorable on this piece. What I find really helpful when painting knobs is to paint them up holding onto the screw in the back, and then stick the screw through a piece of cardboard and let them dry. Otherwise, you know, when you kind of put them down and they roll willy-nilly on your table, or even on a newspaper if you put them on there, you end up with not such a clean paint finish. But this way, sticking them in the cardboard works fabulous. As I mentioned earlier, I really like flipping my pieces when possible. Obviously, some are way too heavy or way too cumbersome to do so, but if it's light enough to flip it on its top, I really enjoy doing this because it's inevitable that when you're painting a piece right side up, you're going to get paint on the underside, you're going to miss a few little nooks and crannies here and there, and when you flip it, it really gives you, I guess I said a bird's eye view, but maybe it would be more a snail's view because you're looking at the underside. So what I do is I just take it, I usually sand the drawers or the drawer frames clean if any paint has gotten in there, and I just make sure that everything is painted correctly. Having a super hard time deciding between Magnolia Garden or Floral Romance Bells and Whistles Transfer. They're both really gorgeous, and I ended up going with the Bells and Whistles Dixie Belle Magnolia Gardens Transfer. I found this sheet that I absolutely fell in love with. It was a full sheet, however, it came up short on the 3 drawers. I had about 1 inch up top and 1 inch on the bottom that was not going to be covered. So I tried a few things to cover it, but first I'll tell you how these apply. This is my 2nd time using the Bells and Whistles line, transfer line, and I don't know if it's the Mylar plastic that's a little thicker, or if the applicator stick is a little more substantial, but they do feel a little weightier and a little more substantial than other transfers that I've used in the past. They apply beautifully. They really, really do. And their designs are phenomenal. Like I said, I had a really hard time choosing between a few of them. So I ended up I needed 2 rolls of the Magnolia Garden because I wanted the large design, one on each side of this desk. And here I'm just applying it. If you've never applied transfers before, you just measure it out. Here I put the 3 drawers side by side so the design would flow down the front of the piece. And then you remove the backing and they stick. There's an adherence there. You stick them on exactly where you want them, because once they go on, they're not coming off. You smooth them out and then you rub them on. To get a really nice crisp edge on the sides and on the tops of the drawers, what I did was I just used my applicator stick and rubbed it back and forth. And as you can see, the transfer just, it tears perfectly actually, because they're very, very thin. So it gives a nice clean look. But if you felt uncomfortable using the applicator stick, you could always use an X-Acto knife and just run it right where the drawers meet, and you'll end up with a nice clean line that way as well. Here I'm installing the hardware, so I measured center and then I used a brad point drill bit to drill. This actually saves a lot of time for me because I don't often have to drill pilot holes when I use these brad point drill bits, and they're very, very precise. They're designed for wood. It gives a clear and accurate positioning, and you can drill exactly where you need to. Also reduces splintering and tear outs, etc. I mentioned the transfer design was about 1 inch short on the bottom and the top, and the first fix I tried for this was a stencil. I did not like the looks of that at all. You can actually probably see it beating through this transfer that I also tried. Tried piecing together the transfer on the top of the left-hand side of the drawer, and then I thought, you know what? No, I'm just going to paint over the stencil and I'm going to use dark wax. And the dark wax worked beautifully. It worked perfectly and it blended everything in very, very nicely. So if you ever come up short with the transfer, you can either piece them together, or you can use a similar color wax or a wax that will kind of blend in and darken or lighten it out. And it really, really helps with the blending. I also wanted to point out that I think some new furniture painters, they may be under the impression that seasoned or professional furniture painters that have been in the business for 10 plus years or numerous years, that their pieces, you know, they picture them in their mind and then it turns out exactly as they're envisioning. That is not the case. It's a process. It really, really is. You kind of, you know, choose a color that you like. In this example, I chose the transfer that I fell in love with, and issues come up, such as, you know, this is falling short and there's 1 inch up top and 1 inch up bottom that's not working for me. And then as you can see, I tried numerous fixes, such as piecing together the transfer, using a stencil on top and bottom. Sometimes things aren't going to work, and it doesn't matter how much experience you have. You just kind of have to work with the piece and make the best of it as you go along, and really work with the piece and try different things. And just keep in mind that it's just paint and it's just product. It can always be sanded off, it can always be fixed, it can always be painted over. There is always a fix if you don't like something. Another tip to blend in your transfers to your piece is to give it a soft sanding with a high grit sandpaper, 220 or higher. Here I'm using a 320, and it just makes the transfer blend into the base color that you have below. You can do a heavy distressing. In this case, I just did a light distressing with the sandpaper, and just very little of the Rebel Yellow kind of beaded through some of the areas, which really blends everything in together beautifully. To finish this piece off and blend everything together, I used the brown wax and I blended a little on the details, the corners, etc. I used my Dixie Belle French tip brush, which is fabulous for blending wax. I really love it, and it's quite inexpensive. I think it's, I don't know, $5 or $6. I'll actually link to it in the source list underneath this video if anybody's interested. But it's really, really easy to blend darker waxes with this brush. And then I stenciled the sides of the drawers in Rebel Yellow with Morocco stencil by Dixie Belle, and I think it just gave it a little bit of extra when that drawer is opened. So this is how it all came together. I just love it. There were a few issues along the way, but it really came together nicely, and I think this desk is adorable. I hope you like it too. You found this tutorial helpful and you enjoyed this desk makeover. If so, feel free to give it a like. Feel free to comment down below. I always love hearing from you. And you can also find me on Pinterest, Instagram, Facebook, and as always, salvagedinspirations.com, where I have over 400 furniture painting tutorials teaching you how to make your furniture beautiful. Until next time, have a fabulous day, stay safe, and I'll see you again soon.